Welcome to PlayStation Corner, my name is Alex. Today we're taking a look at Thymesia on the PlayStation 5. Thanks to Team 17 and Overboarder then for sponsoring this video. They asked me to tell you about the early game and the mechanics packed in, so with that, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals weekly, and let's get started. Before we do jump into this then, if you do want to take a look at this one and maybe add it to the library even, I've linked it in the pinned comment down below that supports Team 17, Overboarder, and the channel directly. Story then, and we find ourselves in the once thriving Kingdom of Hermes. This place though, it's in disarray and near forever falling. The problem, the people, they turned to alchemy, and while initially, things were good, it quickly got out of hand, and now this world, it's succumbed to a plague that is of its basically own doing. They tried to stop the outbreak, but there was no hope, they were way too late. That is, at least until you come in. You will play as Corvus. You've fallen countless times in battle, and in turn, you now have amnesia. You have, however, scattered the truth and solution through memories that are around this world. Collect them and go ahead and save the day. Unfortunately for you though, these memories, of course, they're scattered around this now punishing world, and nearly everything here wants to kill you. They really never make it easy, do they? Why can't you just have left them under the bed maybe, or in a wardrobe? Anyways, fortunately you're a bit of a badass. You also happen to be a part raven, so get out there, get to work in what looks like to be kind of plague doctor getup. So if it wasn't already clear from the footage this far, it's heavily influenced by From Software, and in particular, at least from the early game here, there's an air of Bloodborne to it all. Unlike the majority of Souls-likes though, there's actually no stamina meter. I wanted to start with that because it's led to me playing a lot faster than I typically would. I do need to, however, keep reminding myself this is not a hack and slash game, rather these enemies know what they are doing, and yet in the early game it quickly uncovers the game's many control mechanics that you do need to leverage. We get a dodge mechanic, a saber attack, the ability to parry, something I'm still working on as the timing needed, it's absolutely precise. Definitely worth working with though, because it actually deals damage in return too. Finally, for the basic control scheme, we can sprint and we can also interact. The interactions, think doorways, items, keys and memories, there's a ton of things in this world to work with to not only as well push the core narrative forward, but also many of them actually build upon the locations we find them in, and that I love because this first area, so to speak, it's in the trees, it seems almost a lower class, but it's got a circus which makes for some incredibly creepy enemy types. My favourite element of the combat though so far, it's the slower specials as I would describe them. We have feathers which we can throw on a cooldown timer. If you aim these at just the right moment when an enemy turns green, will actually stun them. That's also going to be a colour that prefaces a pretty devastating assault as well, so really want to get some practice in with that. Then we're also going to be packing what are called plague weapons as well. These plague weapons will actually be picking up shards and locking these, and we essentially manifest the weapon to hand again with limited use for an extra blow that often comes with some sort of buff. Our early examples, they include the ability to destroy an enemy's armor, or even one that added 1 strength to our force. Very cool mechanic, but the best bit, it's gotta be then the claw attack. This is actually a slow attack, but it's not only heavy in the damage it deals, but it actually allows you to steal that weapon and then use it in a plague form. It adds almost, a new layer of strategy, because, for example, in the early game, there's some dudes with spears that are a particular pain in the ass, so I actually did this to keep them a bit more at range in response. You can also charge this attack as well, should you find a window where the opportunity is there. The health of enemies then is unique. We get 2 health bars, one for wounds, the other for a true health meter. Understanding how weapons impact each bar though is essential, because we actually need to deplete both to claim a victory. I'd look at wounds as almost armor, and it can regenerate as well, as should you not hit them for a while. Empty both though, and our enemy will actually be rendered useless for what is one final blow. There's some really slick animations for these final kills as well, but I'd suggest leverage these moments, take a breather, pull out the claw, and equip yourself with something juicy, in that plague form. The location then, much like Souls, it's a pretty intricate maze with all sorts of shortcuts to unlock, as is traditional with the genre. It gives you very little in the way of direction and simply throws you to the wolves, but that's what makes the Souls-like formula, just so satisfying. I do like the faster paced combat though as well, and the dual wielding, much like Sekiro before it, is an extremely fun mechanic. Throughout this world, though, expect to face countless doorways that require keys, and of course these are always going to be found on the biggest of opponents. I'd consider them almost sub-boss moments, and they can unleash some attacks that are going to be unblockable. You simply need to run in these moments, or at least at a minimum try to dodge. I've had a big dude that dives through the air, some sort of jester with a big old hammer, and then the first boss absolutely destroyed me, a true boss. It was going so well to around the midway point where he pulled out his next rotation and moves, and yeah, it definitely did not go well for me. He's a magician of sorts that's throwing cards and teleporting just all over the shop. Loved his animations though, all enemies in fact and my own, each are unique, they have tells so you can master them, and Corvus, he has a certain grace and speed that makes it all feel incredibly responsive. Much like Souls End, progression means facing a death constantly, and here we'll be returning to not bonfires but rather beacon chairs. These restore our health, the flask we use to heal on the go, and then it also allows us to bank, shall we say, anything that we found, or at least leverage it. Just know at this point you'll want to maximize these, you'll actually save your placement, but it does come at a cost, which is all enemies respawn outside of, the boss encounters of course. This world is big though, often you will get lost, and that's where the chairs come in. It's kind of a nice sign that you're making some forward progression. One thing I learned though, if you do find yourself at a chair in this first location, there's two pathways that you're yet to explore and a big old red door. Do not go towards the big red door unless you are absolutely ready for what is a pretty intense battle. The final thing I want to break down then is character development. Also found at the beacon chairs, there's a number of collectibles that can be found or enemies drop, and you can level up then your strength, vitality and plague abilities. You can also work through a skill tree shaping your style. The nice thing here is it can be reset freely should you want to experiment with different styles. You can then unlock permanent plague weapons, you can craft potions with multiple areas. Think maybe you'll carry more or make them stronger. That's something I would suggest as well with those health potions, just to give you a better, chance of survival. Finally, for upgrades, we can cease recall, but be wary of this big choice because it actually sends you back to what is the hub world outside of this plagued city, and it resets much of your progress with your current task. My first impressions are I'm having fun with it. The removal of stamina, it changes the way you approach the typical Souls-like formula, but the combat is fast and fluid. It definitely hasn't forgot the difficulty. This is challenging stuff, and then this far in, no issues performance-wise on a PS5. It looks great. Really like the audio design as well. That's particularly creepy, in fact, from simple background tones to a constant faint, almost think crying, which really hit the nerves. And yeah, that's really about it for this far into the game. No doubt there's a whole lot ahead of me. I do know there's reasons to go back to these locations because you'll actually unlock more and more bosses. Will you be checking this one out though? If so, the link it is in the pinned comment down below. That supports Team 17 and the channel directly, so it is seriously appreciated. If you do have any questions as well, do let me know in the comments down below. With that then, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals weekly, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.